Hey everyone, so today I think we need to have a bit of a chat. There's almost a issue with the way that we do videos here where it's going to be like, hey, there's a new game feature, let's do a guide on the new feature. Or there's a new bit of lore, let's talk about the lore. And sometimes that means that I don't really have a way to talk to you about what's actually going on, even when we all can feel that something is a little off. I feel like a lot of our content, I haven't been able to speak to like what I think a lot of you are actually feeling, right, in the Warcraft space. So it's kind of time to do that now. Things are a bit strange right now. I mean, by most design metrics, the narrative around WoW has been pretty good. The team have actioned on our feedback. So why do things feel odd? I mean, I'm surely not the only person who's felt this. I kind of asked a bunch of probing questions on Twitter, right? I got like 1,850 replies. It's probably over 2,000 now. I got DMs from people who I cannot identify to you, but I wasn't surprised. I was like, whoa, they said that too. And yes, I think a lot of us agreed that something feels a bit odd. It seems that no matter what the WoW team does, people just don't care, right? And that's even when right now, we have more content being pumped into the game than in years. And from working in that space, I do get a very visceral feeling of what stuff's like. As in, we do content about gearing and people are like, gearing, shit and boring, don't care. I get that immediate feedback. They say that an angry audience isn't what kills your game, it's an apathetic audience that kills your game. The people just stop caring, and now you've lost the ability to reach them again. I mean, by Shadowlands, people were being sucked into this black hole of apathy, right? And Dragonflight is good, but we've all felt it. It's a bit funny with videos as well. As an example, normally gearing guides do pretty well on the channel. This time, the gearing is really alt-friendly, it's pretty brisk, there's a lot of ways you can just go and do shit as a player, and it's free from a lot of bullshit that's been there in the past. Put the video out, crickets. Leveling speeds, they're super fast right now with some of the doing things right that we worked out in a recent video. That video comes out, crickets. But it's not like I'm sitting here to have a big whinge about, oh, the content's not doing well. Because I also know that the only content that we really do in this channel that actually starts to do well is things like, say, the WoW team talking about the future of the game, like with the World Revamp video that came out yesterday, or the video, it was a news video where I covered Chris Metzen coming back and Ian Hazzikostas commenting on it. Those clicked with people. And to me, that really does say something. A lot of people are in the black hole of apathy, right? They're past the event horizon. We just can't get them back. There are still people who are on the brink, and improvement isn't what they want anymore. What they want is something that's big, because the apathy is coming for them. And like with how the leveling and gearing content did, it's the same with patch 10.2, because 10.2, actually when you go through the interviews, it has really great changes to the game. There's great work being done in classes. I mean, look at this, Ultimate Penance. My main can do that now, that's sick. But if you watch the WoWcast and you see what people's reactions are, you just think, oh, it's all more of the same, don't care. So it's time to talk about how WoW's expansion that has the best player retention in years is somehow not translating to people wanting to come back. It's strange. I think things are going to get to a better place, but first, I think we've got to go through the grim stuff. And there's one thing that's really simple. This, right now, isn't many people's definition of Warcraft. I'm not saying that's the biggest thing, but it's a lot of it. Lore, right? Setting. It kind of all devolved into esoteric bullshit, didn't it? Told pretty badly. I mean, Legion, what was that? It was the big evil demon people. And the biggest invasion ever. And then we go to their homeworld and take them down. And it's all charged with Illyrian, Turalian return. There's all the cool mystery stuff. Illidan's back. Velen finally going to deal with all of the crazy stuff. So if you like the Draenei lore, it was so good, right? It was big, action movie. Shadowlands and BFA though, I mean, who really gave a toss? For a while, we all just went talking about speculation. But then people kind of realized, hang on, where's the meat? Because WoW was never really about light, order, fel, different parts of the cosmic chart squabbling. That's not what running around as a newbie in Darkshire was. It was about, even when it was touching those big things, it was about massive, unknowable gods that you'll probably never see again, that, you delve into their ruins and, you work out crazy mysteries and lore, but, like, all very grounded, It wasn't about, like, the forces of death having secret agents working in a kind of void sense, who then blackpilled the champion of order to turn him into a massive fell doomer so that he can stop the Void Lords from coming to claim the soul of our world that I guess, I mean, I don't know, is it a big battery? Is this a Halo ring situation? Did the prophet of whatever go and travel to the Ark to turn on all Halo installations? Because that's kind of what Zereth Mortis stuff felt like. No, it was about, oh look, demons, infinite army, insane things, the war of the ancients, an enemy so large it was unfathomable, testing the greatest heroes of the land, creating these epic, big moments, be that Varian, be that Grom dying, right? That lore that, like, it wasn't about the cosmic forces, no, it was about those characters, right? And those cool things. But I think what happened is the background, the speculation that we all started to have fun doing, they kind of misunderstood that and seemingly tried to make that like way more of the actual heart of the game. I mean, we all know there's order stuff going on, but like how many times in Dragonflight do characters just talk about order with a capital O? And it's like, would you really think of it like that? Because that's how I talk about it as a lore YouTuber, but you, character, you exist within that world. And I think where this really happened, where it really stung, it was betrayal. It was changing, like, what the world felt like and deconstructing it and replacing the cool stuff with stuff that ended up being very mid. I mean, they did quite a lot of exploiting people's feelings for marketing, and then they completely fucked up the delivery of that. I mean, take a look at Battle for Azeroth, right? We get this really cool Metzen-y cinematic that's apparently the last thing Metzen worked on before he left Blizzard. And then what happens as soon as we get in there? Well, the Battle for Azeroth isn't really that Battle for Azeroth. They, at lightning pace, go through like 2 expansions worth of material. They deconstruct and ruin so much of the fundamental lore that people really liked. And it just felt exploitative. And then you look at, oh look, Sylvanas fighting the Lich King, and it kind of sucked that, Bolvar just got utterly jobbed. But you then go into Shadowlands, and Shadowlands it doesn't even do a good job of, like, matching the premise of its cinematic, Like, what did Bolvar do? He did barely anything in that expansion, Sylvanas, we actually didn't even get that much of Sylvanas acting as a main villain. Zovaal was kind of useless. We just did a lot of plodding around, chasing the sigils. Oh no, the jailer's got the sigils. In one case, because we took it into his house. I mean, the level of messing everything up, but most importantly, taking what people loved of Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne, and then saying, but it wasn't actually that. The amount of things that Shadowlands changed, that, to so many people, was the big betrayal. It felt like, and I would say it pretty much was, a bunch of people doing really bad fanfiction. But if Dragonflight is so much better, then surely those problems are solved, right? And that's the weird thing about the Dragonflight era. Compare the Dragonflight cinematic to, like, any other one, even the Shadowlands one. I mean, it's just, hey, happiness, dragons. There's the Stone Watcher dude who climbs up the big tower, then proceeds to barely really do anything in the game. He's not like a character or anything. And it's like, we see some of Razageth, who of course we just smashed down in the first raid tier, like it did feel kind of like a whole load of nothing. And then you actually get into this expansion, and the side quests are actually pretty damn good. But once more, we're going around with some MacGuffin. Now, the Pillars of Creation were not strong, they happened in Legion. But it feels to me like, 5 pillars, 5 this, 5 that from Il'gynoth. Now we've got to empower the different Oath Stones. And you're just sitting there as a player being like, why am I empowering an Oath Stone? What is an Oath Stone? What if, like, something happened, and instead of going around the place turning on oath stones, whatever that means, we actually were, you know, like, doing cool shit? And then show don't tell, right? Like, it's one of the most simple things. Show don't tell. And the amount of that being utterly violated by this expansion. I mean, World of Warcraft storytelling is absolutely tell instead of show. And it's like, can they not afford to show these cool things? Are they not interested in making, like, cool gameplay scenarios in the game? It's happening to the extreme. I mean, you do some basic boring quest, and then characters just talk about their feelings with each other. And, like, that's another side of it too. What is going on with, like, the way these characters are being presented? You know? It's like even beyond problems of the narrative not being that well told via gameplay, you know, like gameplay being forgettable and just kind of bridging dialogue scenes. And these dialogue scenes are just characters, I mean, generically talking about the same shit every single time. It's like, come on, man. Where's the diversity in our narratives in the game? The amount of it that's just, yeah, kind of toothless, feel-good nonsense. And the thing is, like, it's just boring. Like, that's its biggest crime. Even if it's good and well written, it just ends up being boring. And this is an MMORPG. I mean, at best, you've got the likes of, say, Farak and Viranoth, you know, where they're actually pretty compelling characters in their very short screen time. At worst, though, it's like all of the, you know, the therapy babble bullshit that's breaking credulity and, importantly, is just way too dominant. Like, balance is important. You can do that more... I mean, your cool stuff should be heartfelt too, but, like, you can have that, I don't even... Because, you see, for me, the problem is it's just so evenly applied that it's not even good storytelling, but, like, they can do the more soft stuff, but you gotta balance that with some stuff that's actually got tooth and claw, or else the soft stuff, it's just more nothing, right? Just the amount of time has been, I see, you know, I understand my feelings, I've now been accepted by the community, yada, yada, yada. And it's just so generic, man. And also, there's an insane inconsistency, and I think a great example of this is the Night Elf versus Forsaken quests. Because, like, or even you could say the 10.1 campaign quests versus the 10.2 campaign quests. I don't know how this is being doled out, but, like, take the Night Elf one. It's essentially Lysander, a total Mary Sue. You may as well call him friggin' Wesley Crusher. You know, Trek, shut up Wesley, etc., etc. Just going around kind of scolding Maiev. It's like, yeah, some 19-year-old Zoomer, and I think Matt's actually working a breakdown that I'll be recording soon for this, but it's like, yeah, some Zoomer comes in, just kind of is like, Maiev, I know more about Fel than you, even though Maev's like this pretty legendary character who's been hunting demons and shit for like 10,000 years. And it just feels rubbish. But then you go to the Forsaken quest, and the Forsaken quest totally knows what the Forsaken are. It's gritty, it's gruesome, it's brilliant. The Bronzeflight filled stuff. I mean, the amount of just like, oh, Chromie feels sad. Now Chromie feel good. Chromie hug leg of Nozdormu. Happy, happy, happy. You know, Nozdormu is sad and depressed. Then people do something for him. Now he's not sad and depressed. The end. And it's like, do you know what you could have done? How cool that could have been? And instead, it just ended up being more padded room, soft bullshit. There was none of the cool factor and the spectacle. And the thing is, I know, like, whenever I talk about, say, this image I brought up on Twitter, I was like, hey, I want WoW to feel like this again. And the next thing that I posted was an image, like a drawing of the Siege of Karabor, to show that, like, World of Warcraft, when it's set on another planet with, you know, the Fel and all these things happening, it can still feel badass too. That's, like, the point. It's like, we want WoW to make us feel like that, not WoW to be what it's basically delivering us right now. So that's one of the big things. Cool stuff just doesn't happen. And it's not told by gameplay. I mean, even take Wrath of the Lich King, the whole situation leading up to the Wrathgate in terms of quest design. Take, also in Wrath of the Lich King, whenever you're first pushing into Icecrown, and they use a lot of phasing for this, so it kind of bugs out if you've got loads of party members, but fundamentally, like, you build up the Argent base, you know, there's like a big battle and everything, and it's got spectacle and cool factor, right? And that's the kind of thing that's just like, you know, enjoyable. So much of Dragonflight's been nothing. And I think the Dragonflight stuff, it's another example of what BFA did, where BFA just chewed through so much stuff and kind of was a letdown. It's like N'Zoth. Like N'Zoth, Ny'alotha, that should have been one of the most exciting things to have in the game, yet they blew through that in a single patch, and it was just depthless and rubbish. It's like, this Bronze Dragon thing feels like another sort of a small version of that, right? So I think they've messed all this stuff up. And again, I'm not saying that this is, the people who love a classic are sitting there reading the quest text, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying the tone of the world, the feeling of the world, the cool shit that happens when you're doing stuff on your character. It's just not there. I mean, why did Farak not try to burn down Valdrakken, leading to some sort of crazy big scenario where, we defend the city when, the aspects are really pushed back and truly harmed by Farak? Maybe Farak and Veranoth work together to cause a lot of damage to us, which then would fuel, so much more character drama between Veranoth, Alexstrasza, and Farak. Because instead, what do we get? A whole bunch of characters telling each other things in dialogue. And that's just continually happened. And I think that's just meant it ain't cool. And World of Warcraft used to be cool. Now, it's not just that, it's also the game. And this is where I think I had a little bit of introspection as well. For a long time as a community, what have we done? We've focused on pain points. We've said, this has been annoying, I don't like grinding for that, this doesn't feel intuitive, etc., etc. Now, those are actually important design things to be sure, and I'm really happy with where a bunch of gearing has developed, right? But we kind of got in this weird loop, Artifacts are big and cool, but, sometimes they were a bit messy. Then we moved to the Heart of Azeroth. And that was Blizzard's answer to a bunch of our feedback on artifacts, but it kind of missed the point, and it was a total mess. And after that, there's Covenants, which were kind of a really scuffed answer to the problem of the Heart of Azeroth having a weak fantasy. And I know that because I know that was Blizzard's internal sort of reasoning for why the Heart of Azeroth wasn't really liked by players. As in, I've talked to people who were in the presentation where that was said top down, this is why it didn't work. We're doing Covenants because we're going to go really hard into the fantasy, and that's how we think the Covenant restrictions are going to work. Like, I know that happened. And it's like, that obviously backfired too with the Shadowlands. But meanwhile, here's the deal. WoW hasn't actually grown, because we've just been reinventing the same wheel again and again and again and again. How does gearing work? How does class power work? How does this work? How does that work? We've just been sitting here, iterating in the fundamentals. And the part of Dragonflight that to me is really good is I feel like we've actually arrived in some great places for the future. I look at the talent trees, and you can see Blizzard are, by tweaking the placement of talents and stuff like that, they clearly have more design tools. And they're doing loads of reworks and rebalancing, and that's really good, right? And I think that talent system can really go the distance, and that makes me happy. Same with gearing, especially as we move into patch 10.2. I think gearing's really found a great place. But WoW hasn't grown in the big sense in, say, where are class order halls as an evergreen system? Where is player housing as an evergreen system? Where is PvP? Like, why is it not? Why did solo queue RPGs not happen ages ago? Why are there not new maps? Why are there not new reward things? Mythic Plus, when's it going to get proper rewards? When is it going to provide experiences that work for more people? Mage Towers really liked in 2017? Where, I know they resurrected it, but that's 5 years ago. Why have you not brought the Brawlers Guild back already? And I know they're probably going to do that for 10.2.5 or 10.2.7. But again, it's been years. And over those years, people have just got apathetic and they've wandered away. Where's challenging solo content that exists in the world? I mean, you might say, hello, WoW Classic. Where are things like that? I mean, essentially, large, gutsy features that get people excited. And this is the strange thing, because it has bit them before. They did the garrisons, and those kind of backfired because I think they were quite misled in their design philosophy. They've done all the big expansion build around borrowed power things, which, broadly speaking, post-artifact weapons backfired. But I think what's happened is they've just become extremely defensive in their design. So to me, it doesn't feel like they've learned from artifacts and, learned from all of these things, and now they're going to take a swing at something, I don't know, try to do some like big new exciting feature that's perhaps evergreen, lasts for longer, right? Stands to the game for multiple expansions. And I feel like they may be able to do that soon. But I think for a lot of people, as I said, so many fell into the black hole of apathy past the event horizon in Shadowlands. And a lot of people are slowly falling into that now. And I think the problem has been that for those of us who were not close to the event horizon, we were able to pull ourselves back out and enjoy the good things that are there in Dragonflight. But for a lot of people who are too close to that event horizon, the problem with Dragonflight is that even though it is objectively better in so many different ways, fundamentally, it's kind of mid and boring. Cool things don't really happen that much. And like, game design, what you're doing is you're making an experience that somebody is going to, I don't want to say have fun with, because I think fun is a very narrow definition of what a game should be doing. But it's just that thing. We've spent years talking about every single little detail, but the big picture has kind of passed all of us by, and perhaps even the developers too. And maybe this is a fault of both, like developers and community, that we all just got kind of so focused in these things, and it's meant that WoW hasn't like grown, that it's been digging itself in and out of various different holes. It's been kind of reinventing the same wheel again and again and again, hoping to get it right. But the problem is the amount of time that it took for that just meant that too many people slipped into the black hole of apathy. And it meant that the industry kind of passed them by. And now that means even when the game does good things, people don't care, because now good isn't enough. What things need to be is they need to be exciting. People are so trained that the lore will let them down, that the setting of the game won't be cool, that they're just not willing to even put the effort in. So now, if Blizzard wants to actually get people excited about the setting of Warcraft, it needs to be something big. That's why people really latched on to the world revamp thing as an example. Because even though, like, say, Dragonflight has done so much better, its narrative, like, it's been fragmented, it's been pretty mid. It's, in a way, for so many people, too little too late from a big company that doesn't feel humble. I mean, imagine if in FF14 they decided to lock parts of the MSQ behind different reputations at various different stages of progress. It would be a fragmented, confusing experience. So even when good things are done, a lot of people don't even see them, you know? And I guess there's another elephant in the room here, and that's Blizzard. Because now Blizzard is synonymous with greed more than anything else, and that is the opposite of the past. Because right now, in a world where people are really struggling to engage with Warcraft, outside of a few of us who are still pretty attached to Modern and a bunch of people that are really enjoying Classic Hardcore, they're struggling to get the broad word out, right? And right as that's happening, and we've had the win of the traders, the trading post, we see them turn the screw in the monetization. They turn it more and more and more and more and more, to the point where now, we have the most expensive transmog set that's ever came out. Looks pretty bad, but you clearly know that it's priced that way because of the 500 bonus traders tender. Because it's not a bonus. There's a reason why that not particularly great looking transmog is the most expensive one there. It's because the traders tender is priced in. And it's priced in, you get 500. Why? Because the matching staff is on the store for 500 tender. It's like, come on. We all know what's going on here. And that perception thing, for a lot of those people who are almost at the event horizon, that's going to push them over. They're going to be sucked in, and it'll be next to impossible to bring them back. And so I think that's what's going on right now. I think fundamentally we've improved loads of things. Loads of their stories have got better, but they've lacked the big cool factor, and they've lacked big cool new features that will make people feel like there's enough to have them warranted, be warranted to come back. And I think people in the WoW team may be like, what the fuck, dude? We're putting out more patches than we've ever put out. We're trying so goddamn hard. We have so many teams working in parallel on so much content. What more could you people want? And I think this is the bit where it becomes really goddamn challenging. like, even think about recent games that have came out. I know, like, Starfield, some people love it, some don't, whatever. But before that, Armored Core. Before that, Baldur's Gate, which is probably quite relevant to a lot of the WoW audience. There are so many games out there. The market is so competitive. And even though some big AAAs have been disappointments, like, others have been incredible. There's loads of fantastic indies. Like, this has been an insanely good year for video games. And that means that being a 7 out of 10 isn't good enough. It's clearly not good enough anymore. There needs to be a big, exciting cinematic that reminds people why they like Warcraft again. Something that feels like the WoD cinematic, or even the BFA cinematic, that feels like, say, the art of the Battle of Karabor, or the art that they commissioned to celebrate classic, classic hardcore. Like, that's the Warcraft that almost everyone fell in love with, right? And to be honest, in a way, I feel like they know this too. I think that's the thing, they know this too. There's been a fair amount of internal discussion on that team, from what I understand, about the direction of the game, and quite a few people on that team, I think, are not particularly interested in, they're more interested in the kind of, well, Dragonflight storytelling. Because as much as, Ian's talked about how it's amazing to be working with Chris again, and I believe that, and, there's been quite a lot of buzz about that lately. I've also heard one or two bits of buzz on the grapevine that some people are really frustrated by it, because it's no longer the WoW that they want to work on. But the thing is, it's like, Metzen kind of did establish WoW, and I think the vast majority of the player base, they want the WoW that was informed by Chris and Samwise as two examples to cover, art, tone, stuff like that. And yes, that means we're actually not looking for a super, deep, incredible, the highest of art experience. We're actually not looking for that. What we're looking for is a big fucking cool world where really cool archetypical stuff happens with a few nice twists here and there. Like, that's actually what people want. People want to feel like the Grom and Thrall cinematic from Warcraft 3. They want to feel like the Warlords of Draenor opening cinematic. That is what WoW should be hitting, not renewal. Fuck Night Elves. Which has, I think, been the TLDR of the game recently. Thankfully, 10.2 actually handles Night Elves really well. So, I think all of this is to say, that's what I think, I guess that's what I think needs to be said. I haven't had a way to say this outside of the podcast that I do with Matt, but not everybody watches the podcast, and in a world where almost all of the videos we do, people are just like mid, boring, don't give a fuck, don't care, checked out at 9.1. Man, the amount of people who check out of the game at 9.1, kind of crazy. I think that's like the main time period that I hear from people. And they just haven't checked back in yet, and they've looked at Dragonflight, and it's just like, not that much happens. It's even simple things like, if you wanted people to be excited about a playable dragon race, you would not have made the Evoker. You did the Evoker well, but it was the wrong thing to do. Sometimes, right, it's not how hard you row, it's what boat you're in. Or, it's like you rowed really hard, but unfortunately, your boat was facing the wrong direction. And that's the situation, say, with the Evoker. Because what the core Warcraft audience actually wanted was those big, buff, gnarly Draconoids. From back in the day, that people remembered. Free win. Instead, you created a whole bunch of esoteric lore that is tied up in order versus void. Like, I like the cosmological chart, because that's a big nerd thing, but that can't be the driving thrust of your A-plot, right? I mean, not unless you are doing some incredibly fine weaving of your narratives, like, say, Final Fantasy XIV was able to do through, Shadowbringers and Endwalker, but we're not exactly expecting that from WoW. I hazard to say that that's not what WoW should be trying to emulate. So yeah, I think that's just that's the situation. They've been miscalibrated. They've been making things good, but they haven't been making the right things. That's the issue. And I think, to be honest, the Evokers, those are part of it. Even look at the dragons, the new dragon models. Why are they so soft and friendly looking? When you saw Bronze Dragon way back in the day, they looked dangerous. The friendly dragons looked dangerous, and that was cool. Because they did seem like some crazy bunch, greater than us. But now they're very soft. So why did you do that? Even some of the art. Why is Nosdormu so moisturized? Where's the texture in his face? I don't know. But there's just a bunch of things that, to borrow something from Suramar, don't feel quite right. And I actually think I've stumbled on the thing. Dragonflight is mostly pretty damn good, but in the words of that Suramar NPC, something is not quite right. And to not be doomer about it, I think there's a reason that Metzen is back in a fairly substantial way. I do think that that world revamp will happen, and I do think that they'll be investing time into bigger features. I think that with Dragonflight, they needed to get their house in order. And while they were getting their house in order, some things got a whole bunch better, some things did not get a whole bunch better. But now their house is a lot more in order, and they're actually able to make content. So I suppose, if they're doing world revamp, that kind of thing, I suppose like that, guided by Metzen, who I think at least knows what Warcraft should be feeling like, we could actually be going somewhere. And I think that's all I've got in the tank for this one. Look, sometimes, you know, it's not spawned by a piece of news or a new thing in the game. Sometimes, you know, I just see a feeling. I see a feeling in the comment section. I see a feeling when I'm talking to my friends. And sometimes I have to engage with that feeling, and I don't know, maybe this has resonated with you, maybe you feel kind of listened to, maybe you don't. Let me know. I genuinely do want to know. It's one of those strange things, like I've found it easier to be closer to Warcraft now. I'm like actually, you know, enjoying stuff in the admittedly not a humongous amount of time that I've had to play, but like it's definitely not like that for a lot of people. So there you go. What do you think? That's it from me, though. If you want to see more, you can check out our news channel. And of course, there's a bunch of content on this channel. I've really been enjoying the lore content we've been doing lately. And if you do want to hop back into the game, the gearing, the leveling guides that we did recently, I think you'll really find those useful too. Okay, that's it from me. See you next time.